what's up everybody? It's Lids, and we're back for some more Gwent, and today we're playing more of the Trial of the Grasses seasonal event, which is an alternate game mode in which whenever we play a unit, it will get damaged by 2, then boosted by 4, unless it's a Witcher, in which case it will not get damaged, it will only get boosted. Now, the strongest deck in this event is generally the Skellige Witcher's deck, however today, we're going to use a deck to counter that. So let's go give it a look. So today we'll be playing a Nilfgaard double cross deck that is the quintessential assimilate deck in that our objective is to play our opponent's cards better than they do. So we'll use assimilate cards that get boosted whenever we play a card that is not from our starting deck, such as Glynnis, the Ducal Guards, as well as the Ffion Heavy Cavalry. Then we'll use cards that trigger assimilate, like Braathens, who is also an assimilate unit himself, but will create a disloyal unit from our starting deck, which will be a Duchess's Informant, which is another card that can create cards that are not from our starting deck, triggering assimilate, as well as Bribery to play another card from our opponent's starting deck. We can also play our opponent's strongest bronze units from their graveyard with Experimental Remedy, and with the Illusionist, and then once we have them on our side of the board, we can create additional copies of them using the Megascope. And if we're going against Skellige, then the target card is generally going to be the Bear Witcher Quartermaster, because it is a Witcher, so it plays for a bunch of points, and then the Witcher students that it spawns in are also worth way more points than usual. So that's the assimilate side of things, but there is also another key combo that we have, that being Cahir, because whenever our opponents get boosted, Cahir gets boosted by the same amount. And because every time our opponent plays a unit, it gets boosted, that means Cahir is going to become huge. And that's why playing our defender next to Cahir in the melee row is going to be crucially important so that he doesn't immediately get shut down. And then we have a couple of cards to get those cards from our graveyard back into our deck, one being Assire, and the other being Renew, allowing us to either play both our defender and Cahir for 2 separate rounds, or to play Cahir in round 1, round 2, and round 3 if we're willing to sacrifice the defender. Other than that, we have, of course, a couple of Geralts because they're amazing in this event, and Imperial Diplomacy for another more minor assimilate trigger, and Teleportation in case we do get Bear Witcher Quartermasters. That way we can replay them and use their order abilities once again. So there's a look at the deck, and like I said, the key is to play our opponent's cards and trigger assimilate in the process, giving us more points than they get, and then absorbing their boost using Cahir. So let's go see it in action. Alright, so going up against Skellige here. And they'll go first. Okay, so we have some of our key cards in our hand already. Cahir and our defender to protect Cahir, and then we can use a combination of Assire and Renew to get these two back in a future round, so I like that a lot. The Illusionist could be effective, it's just that it's probably not the best idea in round 1. And so let's get rid of the other one as well. Okay, so we'll start with the portal. We'll summon out some Bear Witcher Adepts. And let's begin with our Defender plus Cahir combo. First with the Defender. Okay, then it's the Bear Witcher Quartermaster. That is the ideal card for us to create copies of. And now let's play Cahir. So he'll get boosted whenever they get boosted, giving us a huge engine. And they'll just pass. So we've scared them off with a Cahir. So that means we basically have a free round 1 win here. So we could play up to 4 cards and just dry pass in round 2 if needed. So I think let's not rush things here. Let's play some of our weaker units, like our assimilate guys, in the range row. Like you guys. And we'd like to save Assire, Renew, ideally Royal Decree as well. We might go Bribery now that we have a couple of assimilate guys down here. It is a strong card because it might mean that we steal some of their strong cards on their side. But, I mean, if we go... Hold on, if we do Megascope on an Ffion Heavy Cavalry... That is just enough, isn't it? So that might be preferable. That way, I think Bribery has a little more upside. So, sure, we'll go that route. And I am hoping that my math is correct. Because there we go. We win by 1. And we did, of course, play more cards, but we'll dry pass in round 2. And we draw into another Megascope, Glynnis, which is great, and Yrden, which is also fantastic. And we actually do have one card to burn here in round 2, and we can use that to play Assire to get probably Cahir back into our deck, or maybe actually our defender, and then we'll use Renew to get Cahir, because putting a card back into our deck means that it is possible for us to get it, but we still need to find a way to either draw into it in round 3 or tutor into it in round 3. Suppose we have Royal Decree, so yeah, we can still guarantee we get it either way. Whereas I was going to say Renew is a guaranteed, you get exactly the card you're looking for. So yeah, we're fine either way. Okay, so as I said, with one throwaway card, we'll play Assire, and we want to go in the range row. So we put a card from our graveyard back into our deck, and so it could be either of these guys. These are the combos that we're looking to bring back, because as we saw in round 1, our opponent was rather fearful of that matchup. They'll go with Gerd. Okay, and that was really all we were looking to play in round 2 here, because we did play one more card than our opponent, or several more cards than our opponent in round 1, so we want to make sure we're back on even cards in round 3. Okay, so we draw into the Illusionist, and let's just double check. They played a Quartermaster in round 1, right? Yep. Okay, so that would be the ideal card to get out with the Illusionist. Assuming they don't use Sigdrifa's Right to get it out from their graveyard, then we can use Duchess's Informant to create copies of the other Bear Witcher Quartermasters that they will inevitably play, and Geralt is fine. We can even create copies of those Quartermasters with the Megascope and replay them with Teleportation after we use their order ability, so this looks fine. Okay, they'll start with Geralt Quen into Guard. That's a little bit of an odd beginning, because none of those cards are engines. Okay, and I think we start the same way we started in round 1, that is getting our defender and then getting Cahir. So let's just remind ourselves yes, put the defender back into our deck. So let's begin with that, using Royal Decree. And they may know what's coming here once they see the defender return. But my guess is that they had ways of dealing with it in round 1, they just wanted to save them for round 3 instead, so they may be a little more aggressive here with their counters. Because yeah, there's Geralt of Rivia. So that is one form of removal. A form that they potentially would have liked to have used against Cahir, but they may still have an Yrden. So Cahir is not necessarily safe, but because we also have Glynnis, which we could play in whatever row Cahir is not in, namely the range row, as well as the ability to steal some Quartermasters. We can put those in the range row as well, making us a little more Yrden-proof, so I think we still give it a shot here. So let's go for it. We could even replay our defender, but I don't think there's any way at this stage to get both defender and Cahir out from our graveyard. I think it's going to have to be one or the other, and Cahir is definitely top priority. So if they have any more control, they're going to use it here. Yeah, and they do have their leader ability, Blaze of Glory, which is going to be a way to get rid of Cahir. Alright, so we got rid of that, but as we suspected, they did have ways to shut down our defender plus Cahir. They just didn't want to use them all in round 1. But here's the Quartermaster, and that is one of the cards that we're going to want to create copies of. And Sunset Wanderers as well, which could turn into a very nice target for Geralt of Rivia, because that's 16 points now. And before we start creating all the copies of their units, let's get out Glynnis, because she'll get boosted whenever we play cards that are not from our starting deck. And then they'll go Selective Mutation, which short-term just gives them a few more students. Though, to be fair, 2 students is 12 points. Okay, so now let's use the Illusionist to create a Quartermaster. And we might wait to use these order abilities until we have more Quartermasters, since those Quartermasters have a little bit of armor, making them decent targets. And then it's Megascope, probably to create another Quartermaster on their side, and, well, that's what we're probably about to do here. Okay, then they'll go Armor Up to deal a little bit of damage and spawn in a whole lot more students. And now what we do is we go with the Duchess's Informant to create another Quartermaster. And just try not to flood our rows too much here. We're going to get a lot of students in this melee row now. But if we hit this quartermaster with this quartermaster, we can weaken it, which I think is actually going to be a good thing. We'll turn the favor a little bit there. Might wait until we have another quartermaster before we use this last charge, but then we can use something like teleportation on this quartermaster and go from having a 2-point quartermaster into having an 8-point quartermaster, and of course, getting another round of those abilities to spawn in more students. Oh, they have just enough damage to get rid of it, though. Okay, we probably should have expected another armor up, although, to be fair, although they did deal a bit of damage and deny us a few points worth of Witcher students, they also denied themselves points of Witcher students, because their melee row was full, so that certainly came at a cost to them as well. Okay, and so now we don't have nearly as good of a target for this quartermaster and for this teleportation. I suppose we probably do hit this quartermaster and then reset it. Would even potentially justify replaying the Illusionist instead. That technically might be worth more points. I think it is, to tell you the truth. So I think we actually hit this instead. Then we use teleportation here to replay you and get one of you. And hit you. And I suppose hit you. Then we should also use a leader ability now. And they have the trio, actually 2 members of the trio, which is not good, and Leo. We'll use Leo because we do now have a whole lot of Witchers, so he'll get boosted a lot. They notably did not have any Geralts remaining. That means they don't have a way to reset either of our rows, or even destroy one of our big units. That is certainly a good sign for us. And they may not even have space for all of their cards now. We know they have one more of the Witcher trio. That will take their last spot there, and they'd rather use that to get Leo. So things are looking very good for us right now. We will delay our Yrden and our Geralt of Rivia, and that means we should go Bribery here. And, well, we didn't get great options. We'll probably go Bear Witcher. We don't want to destroy any of their cards because they only have room for one more, and we'd like for them to have to choose between Leo or the last of their Wolf School trio. So I think we do go Bear Witcher, but let's just make sure we don't actually get rid of anything. I think what we're going to do is we're going to Yrden this row, and then we're going to Geralt of Rivia a Leo in their range row. So let's damage something in their range row since we're not expecting to Yrden that, because if we're damaging in the same row that we're Yrdening, then the damage is pointless. So technically the right play for them here is to discard their Eskel, and then on their last turn, play Leo. They also still have charges remaining on this quartermaster. They will not have space for that. No, they go straight into Leo. Okay, so now we Yrden their melee row. And on our last turn, we're gonna destroy Leo with our Geralt, but we know they don't have any space for any more cards. So we've already won. Don't even need to play Geralt to destroy this Leo. And so we win with a card to spare. Alright, so going up against Skellige here. And they'll go first. Okay, and we have both Cahir and our defender. That is the key combo that we would like to have in round 1. We'd like to also have a way to get them back in round 2 using either Renew and or Assire, and we could use Oneiromancy to get one of those. But for round 1 at least, Illusionist and Experimental Remedy are not great because they may not have any cards in their graveyard, so let's dump them. Okay, they'll start with an Armored Drakkar, which will get damaged by Prowl of the Grasses and get boosted in the process. But let us go with our defender first. Followed on our next turn by Cahir. Alright, there's their defender. But now we go Cahir. So we will acquire all the boosts that they get, and because there's automatic boosts with every card they play in this event, that's going to be a whole lot. Dire Bear is not what we want to see, though. Dire Bear is not what we want to see, though. Because this is going to prevent all boosts in their melee row and our melee row. And of course, that means Cahir is sad, so I am sad. We're hoping that they don't have a way to replay this Dire Bear in round 2 or round 3, because that way, if we do bring back Cahir, at least Cahir will be effective then. So maybe we keep round 1 relatively short here and instead focus on going hard in round 2 and round 3. So let's just go with an assimilate unit in. Now our range row is definitely the answer. And Dire Bear is just such a strong card in this event because, sure, now our melee row is extremely weak, but that means that we're going to be enticed to play all of our big cards in our range row, which sets us up for a huge Yrden, because if everything boosted is in one row, then it's an obvious Yrden target, and Yrden obviously is an auto-include in this event. So we could potentially even justify passing here, because our opponent did play one more card than us. That is the benefit of us being on red coin, and not sure if that's going to be enough to convince them to dry pass in round 2, which would probably be ideal for us. We might need to go at least playing one more card before that would enter the realm of possibility. So let's play another assimilate unit here, and we're hoping that it is still a little bit early, so they still feel like they need to play. And it's another Quartermaster. These are the cards we're going to want to create copies of. So it's good that they're playing them now, so they'll have some in their graveyard. So things like Experimental Remedy and Illusionist become more enticing plays for us in round 2 and round 3. But I'm thinking that now we do pass, because if we wait a turn before doing so, then they may pass, and then the whole us ending round 1 while we still have one more card than them strategy is no longer on the table. So obviously it means they'll win round 1. But now we're playing for round 2, and we do have one more card than our opponent. We're hoping that that either means that they'll make round 2 really short, or they'll just dry pass and hand us this round. We do, of course, very much want to have a way to get both Cahir and ideally our defender as well back in round 2, or love if we could save them for round 3. So Oneiromancy could give us Renew, but we would love to have Assire and Renew collectively. So let's get rid of Teleportation. Braathens is great, but we would love if we could still get one of those other cards as well. And we did not get them. Okay, they're going with the Shield Maiden, which is a solid throwaway card here, because it gives them 12 points as well as some thinning, which makes it hard to tell if they are actually trying to push here in round 2, or if that is the only thing they're going to play. So let's start with the Feainn Heavy Cavalry. That way we have an engine if we are looking to play longer in round 2, but if not, and they just dry pass here, then we'll go Oneiromancy into Assire. They are playing. Okay, I don't think we wanted them to do that. That is not a good sign. Okay, so they have put up a lot of points very quickly here, but remember, they have 2 fewer cards than us right now, so we don't need to catch them in one turn here, per se. So let's not get carried away here. Let's make sure that we do what we need to do, that is, use Oneiromancy to get Assire, and with her, play her in the ranged row, so that we can get both our defender and Cahir in a future round. So let's put Cahir back into our deck. Okay, then they're going with the Heme Protector, which is a bit of an engine, but not a super powerful one, which again just makes it unclear as to, are they trying to push here? Are these just point slams that they're trying to see if we can match? Because at this stage, we probably do start needing to put up a fair bit more points, and that probably means we're going Braathens. So we'll use him to get a Duchess's Informant, and in this case, I mean, they don't have a great option for us, since we don't have any Shield Maidens in our deck. The Witcher Student is not terribly strong. The Heme Protector is, I suppose, our best option here, strange as that sounds. Okay, then they go Gerd. That's a little more high investment. And now that we have a few engines down here, we are in a little bit better shape, put up points more quickly. So now let's use Imperial Diplomacy, trigger more assimilates, and we are hoping for, some of the really great bronze Skellige cards, and if we had already played one of their Bear Witcher Quartermasters and had them in our graveyard, Freya's Blessing actually could have been amazing for us, but, yeah. We have any beasts? I doubt it. We do not. I'm wary of putting a card in our graveyard, but we kind of need to. Okay, thankfully it's Teleportation. I was going to say, if that was going to be the Cahir that we put in there just a turn or two ago, then I was going to be very, very disappointed. Hey, Eskel, it is pretty late in the round to be playing him. He is, of course, a great card, but it does seem as though they were just testing the waters a bit. They played weaker cards to begin with, and they were trying to see, might they be able to force the issue here in round 2, and over time they've just put more of their chips on the table. So now I think what we do is we use Megascope to create a Demon Pirate. Technically, the best target for Megascope is a Bear Witch or Quartermaster, of course, and we could have potentially used Experimental Remedy to get one of those out here first, but I was kind of trying to see if we could save these, but I don't think that's going to be an option anymore. Red Haze. Okay, yeah, that did get rid of one of our engines. That is unfortunate, but now I think we do need to use Experimental Remedy. There aren't too many alternatives here. We might also need to use Leader Ability, and they don't have too many cards left. So let's at least do this and take a Quartermaster. And what we'll do is we will hit the card next to the Haymade Protector, which will boost the Haymade Protector. And that certainly helps once we get this other Demon Pirate spawned in. That will be very useful. In fact, we've taken the lead here with one card advantage. They'll go Geralt of Rivia, and they do have a target for it. It's 10 points, which is not amazing. But we need to consider that if we are planning to use our leader ability in this round, this is our last chance to do it. And I think Experimental Remedy is enough points for us to catch them with this alone, but of course, who knows what their last card is? It might be a Yrden, in which case they can take away a ton of our points and potentially force us into playing Yrden. Maybe that's a trade we're willing to make. Let's go Experimental Remedy here, and let's do the Quartermaster, and let's hit this Quartermaster, and I think hit Braathens, because this range row is bigger. And yes, we do have the lead, so that may be enough to discourage them from playing their last card, but that remains to be seen. It's Morkvarg. Okay, we didn't have anything that was super highly boosted. Braathens was the highest, but they do use their lead ability as well. So they went all in, as it turns out. And after doing that, they have a 21-point advantage, which is fairly big, but it is definitely doable for us to catch them. Of course, it's going to mean using some combination of Yrden and Geralt of Rivia. Geralt of Rivia is not enough by itself. I don't think Yrden is either. I think it's extremely close, but I don't think it is. So unfortunately, I think we do need to play both here, which really stinks. But in that case, we don't really need to be too picky, because that is oh so close to being enough. But of course, they won round 1, which means if we tie here, they win. So we do need to play Yrden, which stinks, because that was, of course, one of, if not our best card. It does mean that we'll win round 2, and we'll be on even cards in round 3, but it costs us a lot to do it. Okay, but one advantage we have here is that they used their leader ability, whereas we did not. We draw into round 2 of Oneiromancy, we draw into Glynnis, and combine her with our leader ability and with Bribery, and we can give her a decent amount of boosts. We do not currently have a way of getting back both Cahir and our defender, but I think we'll probably just get Cahir and Cahir alone. So I think we settled for that. And I think that means we go Cahir first. And we would like to save our leader ability until we have Glynnis on the board, which means I'm going to wait one turn, means they're not going to have the 3 cards in their hand. They're only going to have 2, so we aren't going to have all of the options available to us. That's okay. I don't think we're going to play the Drakkar anyway. So now we go Glynnis. And now we use our leader ability, and we can see what all their cards are. So they do have Yrden, as we might have expected. So the thing is that Yrden, at this stage, resets you for 5 points, and since he's a Witcher, he is worth 6 points directly, so that means that's 11 total, whereas Armor Up, oh, okay, well, we don't particularly like hitting the Armored Drakkar and removing its armor, so that actually gives you 1 point, but it spawns in 15 points worth of Witchers. What did we say? This was 11 points, something like that, so this is technically still a little bit better. So I guess we do go that route. That means our melee row is absolutely the most highly boosted, so this is going to be the target of their Yrden. But we'll use Bribery and put that in our range row. So they'll armor up against Glynnis here, presumably, because their intention is to reset this row. But now we go Bribery, and definitely not the Shield Maiden. Do they have a unit that is highly boosted enough for Morkvarg to be worth using? Potentially on the Drakkar. You know, at this point, that's not a terrible option. I think we might go that route. Gerd, his Adrenaline 3 is not a good one. He is a Witcher, so he's worth more points on our side. So he's a 14, whereas Morkvarg, I think it's still worth more than that. So let's use him. Alright, so, I mean, Yrden isn't worth this many points, right? They will use it, we're about to find out. Oh, it's close. It is very close, but we will still win, so even Yrden can't stop us. So there's a look at a Nilfgaard deck for the new Trial of the Grasses seasonal event that counters the strongest decks in this event. If you liked the video, then make sure to hit the like and subscribe button and leave a comment down below to let me know which other cards, archetypes, and factions you'd like us to experiment with next. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you next time.